Another weekend and another record for gas prices is predicted. That means the cost of commuting and cottaging is marching up even higher.
Just picking up that pump to start filling up, you know you're in for a bit of pain. CP24's Steve Ryan is live alongside the en route in King City with more reaction from drivers this morning. These drivers, Steve, effectively resigned to the fact that if they want to get away, they're going to have to pay.
Going to have to pay, that's right, Nick, and they are resigned to the fact that they will pay extra money when it comes to filling their tanks. Many have said to me that driving is a necessity and not a privilege, so they have to kind of suck it up and cut costs in other areas to be able to afford gas in their tanks. So joining me right now is Dan McTeague. Of course, he is a gas analyst who speaks with CP24 quite regularly. Dan, thanks for your time, sir.
Good to be here, Steve.
What's going on with gas prices, Dan? The truth. What's your feeling as to what's happening?
This tends to be towards the end of the week. Markets tend to rally. At the beginning of the week, we saw a bit of a decrease from 214.9 here in Toronto all the way back down to 210.9. Then by Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, we saw markets take a bit of a turn, pushing prices back up. So, Steve, we're not just looking at energy prices like gasoline going up. Obviously, oil has been moving up now to $123 a barrel. There's something else at play here that never gets mentioned, but we talk about it quite frequently, and that's the idea that the Canadian dollar continues to show weakness, significant weakness, in the face of higher demand and higher oil prices. That's something we have never experienced, certainly the past 30 years in Canada. Oil prices go up, so does the value of the Canadian dollar. Right now, it takes 127 pennies, and we've lost about 2.5% in the value of the Canadian dollar. That's added almost 3 cents a litre to the price of gasoline. And by the way, we're going to see tomorrow gas prices hit that all-time record, 215.9 here in the GTA across most of southern Ontario. It's likely to go up at least another cent or two on Sunday, 216.9 or even 217.9. A little early to tell at this point.
Then when we hear about limited supply causing the increase, is that self-inflicted? Is that a man-made sort of supply where the tap is kind of turned off? Is it something that simple, or how does that work?
Look, oil fields have been under severe constraint in terms of investments. There just has been any money for several years to produce new oil fields or to go out and risk building pipelines. There's a comedy of errors, but this is really death by 1,000 cuts. We've taken a position that we don't need this oil and that we don't need this natural gas. Along comes COVID, post-COVID demand, pop, and now we need a lot more than we've ever needed before. The supply just isn't there to meet that demand, and even price. Today, the United States will break over the $5 psychological threshold. That's $5 a gallon. They've never seen that. Canada, of course, is now testing, a dollar, looks, if I put it in the same terms, about almost $6.50 to $7 a gallon. So we're way ahead of the Americans on these things in terms of price. It hasn't hit demand yet. And I think, Steve, that's the result that many people, like the drivers you are canvassing there, are saying, I can't really say no to buying my fuel to get to where I need to. Other things are going to have to be compromised, probably not going into that convenience store to buy whatever they used to buy in previous years.
Now, are the feds able to control this if they chose to? Do they have some control over these gas prices, and can they fix them?
Yeah, they could, but a couple of things would be required. Some provinces have already decided, and I think Ontario will be doing that very soon, to drop gas taxes. That will help a little bit. But I think the federal government has to give an overall message that it's serious about getting vastly needed supplies to international markets, more importantly, oil and natural gas. I think there's a very strong argument for that right now. And that doesn't take away from our commitments to climate and other things, but we're the third largest provable reserves in the world. There's a lot of countries now saying Canada has to step up to the plate. It has to build pipelines, like it or not. We're not at that point of transition yet. And if we don't do it, then you're going to continue to have this problem of high inflation driven by an energy crisis for which Canada, with, again, very large reserves, the third largest in the world, could actually displace. So it's a question I think our politicians need to recognize. Years ago, I did provide 2 rebates for Canadians when I was a member of Parliament. I think the federal government is now duty-bound to providing some relief, because it's not just about energy prices, it's now cascading into other areas. When you mention one of the most important aspects of it, talking to farmers, food prices, I don't think you're going to find many Canadians arguing. It's time for the federal government to take this issue of the energy now leading to an inflationary crisis seriously.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate your insight.
Thanks, Steve.